Dude, check out the old school
Okay.
bowl. Look,
Oh, that's nice. Hell yeah, man.
the old school
I
metal
remember
ones.
those. I remember those from high school. I remember
Yeah,
that.
this has
Yeah.
the chamber in the middle. You can put the butt in and stuff. Yeah.
That's cool. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I have a really good friend with me tonight. He's like my brother from another mother. He's Ra Castaldo. I mean, we get along really well. If you guys don't know, we kind of talk behind the scenes too. We're friends off camera, because we're both into like martial arts. And by the way, there will be no show tomorrow because I'm going to see the PFL here in Pittsburgh, which is the professional fight league. It's like UFC fight, MMA fights, but here in Pittsburgh. But like, me and Rob might talk a little bit about that tonight, about the upcoming fights and stuff like that. But like, we have a lot of stuff to get into. So I wrote returning guest and fan favorite Ra Castaldo joins us for a night of deep dive in one of the most unsettling patterns in modern research: the disappearance of plasma physicists and UFO researchers. Ra is an esoteric researcher and the host of Exploring the Ka. He connects the dots between plasma physics and non-human intelligence, propulsion and consciousness-based technology. Researchers who have gotten too close to the truth. Is there a hidden pattern behind the disappearances? And are scientists uncovering something humanity isn't ready to know? And a little bit more about my guest. Ra Castaldo is an esoteric researcher, psychic seer, and practitioner of the Strega lineage wisdom. Through his platform, Exploring the Ka with Ra, the Mystical Spiral Store, he explores the intersection of ancient knowledge, plasma physics, consciousness, and UFO phenomena. His work bridges science and spirituality, offering deep insights into hidden technologies, energetic systems, and the unseen forces shaping reality. And yeah, I'd like to give him a big warm welcome back to the show. Rob, thanks so much for coming back on, man. How are you?
Well, I thank you for having me, Rob. It's good to be here.
Yeah, hell yeah, yeah. Like, so what's yeah? So, did you? What do you think of that PFL card? Before we get into all this stuff, do you think it's a decent card? Like,
Well, I only remember the main event that you told me about, the Johnny Eblin. Man,
yeah,
I know who he is. He trains with a lot of UFC fighters, and he's champion caliber fighter. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he would get thrown right into the deep end if he went into the UFC. So
yeah,
like, I would have liked to see his career if he would have started off in like, at the working his way up in the UFC. Because sometimes when you get I think it's only a matter of time before PFL cards stop, then they get absorbed, and eventually I think Johnny Eblin's going to make it over to the UFC.
yeah.
If any,
What's weird, like this thing that Netflix is doing is really weird too. Like that Rousey Carano card, they got like 3 really good fights on there, but like it seems like they picked a lot of PFL fighters and put them on a Netflix card, and just kind of rebranded it, or whatever it is,
yeah, I mean, the thing with that is that these are like one-off events. Even though Netflix has held a few things, they seem like they're big money events, but they're like a one event thing. There's not like Netflix doesn't seem like they're putting on a promotion where one card is going to lead to fights on another card. Where
yeah,
people are like, in a weight class. They seem like they're just a bunch of super fights, if you want to say,
yeah.
like, against, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, but they're huge. They seem like they're paying their stars more than the UFC is paying their stars.
Yeah, and they're competing with the UFC. Like, I'll probably be watching a little bit of UFC on my phone tomorrow while I'm at the PFL fights. Like, because Adesanya's fighting tomorrow. He's fighting Joe Piper. That's going to be a good fight. Like, I got Adesanya all day, I think, in that. But I don't
Yeah,
know. Joe Piper's tough.
yeah. I don't think that they're throwing him. Maybe many people don't know about the Joe Piper name, but they definitely not throwing him a softball with that one. That's going to be a tough fight for him. I
Yeah.
don't know if Izzy's going to win that fight.
Brendan Schaub thinks Adesanya's fighting for his career. He thinks like that if he loses this, it could be like curtains for him.
It could that could be. I think if he loses this fight, it's going to be 4 in a row. He hasn't won a fight since he knocked out Pijera that time.
Wow.
If you look it up, I'm pretty sure, unless I'm forgetting, but I'm pretty sure that time. Remember when he knocked out Alex and he was doing the
Yeah.
arrows,
Yeah.
bro? That's the last time he won a fight.
Wow. Dude, I didn't know
Was
that.
and that was I'm pretty sure. Then that was years ago. That was
Yeah.
years ago. So it ain't
Yeah.
going to be easy to come back from that, dude. He just lost what? 3? Go look at his record. What did he just lose? 3 fights in a row just now.
Yeah.
Coming off of 3 losses,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Once you're a UFC champion, you can't go back. There's no like every time you fight, you're gonna get a top 10 opponent, and they're gonna be a brutal guy. There's no going back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So he's not gonna come back, and they're just gonna throw him one to get his feet wet again. They're gonna throw him an up and coming killer.
Yeah. And that's exactly what Joe Pyfer is. You know what I mean? If you really look at it,
when they do that, they're thinking of it in two ways. Either the veteran that's really popular, as in Izzy, is gonna win and make a comeback and give them money, or this new guy is gonna make a name off of the veteran.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're like in a win-win position. If Izzy wins, oh my God, it's a resurgence of his career. If Joe Pyfer wins, it's like, oh, this guy just knocked out a UFC champion. He's ready for the top of the top of the game. So yeah, that's how they book those fights. That's why a lot of those veterans that you see that have a little troubled career, they get thrown. A lot of times we want to see them with a similar guy at a similar path, right? Two veterans fighting for their career. They never usually do that. They usually do a nice, young, hungry up-and-comer against a veteran,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Fucking Jim Miller's been doing that for the last 6 or 7 years.
Oh my God, Jim, they're gonna walk Jim Miller out to the fights in like a coffin one day. He's never gonna retire. You know what I mean?
But look at who he's fighting though. He's not fighting other veterans. He's fighting the new guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's fighting those hungry dogs, dude. That's even harder than fighting those veterans.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because they're all like young and up. Yeah, like you said,
and they're trying to build a name off of him. Like, oh my God, if I knock off Jim Miller, it takes my career to the next level.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I guess we could start with like what we're going to get into today, which was the disappearing scientists and the UFO research. Like, did you hear about this with this Neil McCaslin guy, the Air Force general, and then one of his friends went missing too, and supposedly that had something to do with UFOs and space, and is that kind of where you were going with this?
Well, I think I can add an interesting layer to this because I've been involved with astrophysics and plasma physics for over a decade, and I know some pretty big people in the industry, in the profession, like Professor Chandra Wickraman, who's one of the most well-known astrophysicists in the world. Yeah. And I've been a friend with, and I know how little compartments. I see the little compartments, how they don't even interact with each other, and how it's a very weird, especially when you're bringing new information and you have new discoveries to the table. They usually try to suppress you and take it. Like I've been suppressed with my own information and my own discoveries, and I'm only talking about the significance within mythology, but people don't realize there's a common denominator with all these missing people that we're going to be talking about. Besides them being all scientists, they all are intimately working with plasma physics. And plasma physics goes in several different directions here. It goes in how crafts are moving in and out of our atmosphere and our environment and where they're coming from. It has crafts being able to morph from plasma balls into solid structures and then back into plasma balls. It has the most important subject in the world, in my opinion, involves plasma physics. This is the lifeblood of the universe. Everything can be a plasma. Our souls are a type of plasma wrapped in like molded in clay or our skin, and we're like locomotive moving people that are plasma souls inside of. People don't realize every sun and star is a plasmasphere streaming loads amounts of information. When you see a nebula, it's loads of plasma. When you see a Milky Way and galaxies, it's all plasma. Plasma is how life is born from the plasma waters, and life returns to the plasma waters. So the knowledge has to do with how souls get here, how life is created and born and transported throughout the universe, how there's all different dimensions that exist within the light of the universe, right? This all lies in plasma research. And some of the biggest secrets of nature and the universe are starting to be unveiled in the last couple of years within plasma physics, right? And you have a lot of these scientists who are spending their whole career involved in a research project, and then as soon as they retire, they're going missing. It's like they're tying up loose ends, right? You know, they're not going to leave that information out there. And all of these people that are either ending up unalive or missing, they are intimately connected to plasma research, and plasma research that has to do with UAPs. And we just had 3i Atlas, right, go through our solar system. This most likely is a plasma-based propulsion, right? Plasma nickel-based propulsion craft. And it's not just a craft, it's a comet. But all comets are crafts, in my opinion. All I've been saying this since the late 90s, early 2000s, and it's been confirmed by science. Comets are carrying the building blocks of life. They are literally caravans that are being transported around the universe, carrying genetic material, bacteria, all the molecules needed to jumpstart, sustain, evolve planetary systems, right? And they're traveling on mathematical orbits. So whether you have an interstellar comet like 3i Atlas or Oumuamua, or you have a regular comet that's coming from the Kuiper Belt or the Oort cloud of our solar system, they are carrying the building blocks of life. Some of them are on hundreds of thousands of years of mathematical orbit, and some of them are traveling all throughout the universe, right? And then when they enter into inner solar systems, they start communicating with our sun. The sun starts heating it up and creates a plasma tail. That plasma tail has magnetic reconnection events that when it breaks apart and reconnects, and it leaks out all of this genetic material, frozen bacteria, and that ends up on planetary systems and it seeds life. There's no way that these types of objects would be just randomly flying around the universe, just happen to be carrying the building blocks of life, and just happen to be on mathematical orbits. That doesn't just happen from random collisions in the universe. These things are divinely or intelligently guided. So 3i Atlas is just an exotic one that's coming from another solar system and not ours, right? But it's no doubt under divine intelligence, and they most likely were figuring this out, these researchers, because a lot of them have to do with plasma propulsions and UAP. And I found at least 6 that I know of that are involved with plasma physics that are either not alive right now or are presumed dead or missing in the last year.
Wow.
6.
Do you think
I
that's
have some
because
of
they
them
don't
right.
want people to know the real truth of what's going on? Like or something like that?
I mean,
Do you
we
think
can
that
only speculate, but from what I understand, from what it seems like to me, is that a lot of them had just either retired and now they're a risk, right? They're not going to be under the same scrutiny and surveillance as they would be when they were employed. Now they're retiring. So, and that's a risk now. All that information they either uncovered or were exposed to, and now they're going to be retired, right? So that's a risk in itself, leaving that they probably consider. And the other ones, maybe they were about to talk or they seemed like a risk. But we have not just the one that you mentioned earlier. In less than a year, 6 scientists or researcher scientists that are tied to these high level projects with UAP and plasma, they're either gone or not alive right now. And you can look from mid 2025 to early 2026. Some of them are involved with the same projects as well, involved with the U.S. Air Force and the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory and Los Alamos National Laboratory. And one of the earliest ones that they had, one of the first ones, is when Monica Jacinto Reza, she was an aerospace engineer and was involved with the development of engines for rockets and advanced alloys. And she disappeared while she was hiking in 2025 in a national forest, I think in Los Angeles or somewhere like that. And she's never been found. Right. And then you have just days later after that, same place, a Los Alamos employee, Melissa Casillas, she vanished under unusual circumstances after she just returned home and resetted her phone, and she was walking in a forest. She was walking towards the forest trail, and she went missing. All right. And then in October, there was this guy, Jacob Pritchard. He was linked to the defense research with the Air Force and one of the same projects. And he was killed in some domestic dispute but I mean, they make it look like a domestic dispute. These people, I mean, there's ways that could be done through that. People could be paid off. There, people could be energetically affected. I mean, there's all sorts of things. Then in December 2025, this guy Nuno Lorio, he was a leading figure in plasma physics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and he was shot and killed at his house by someone that was reportedly harassing him for a while. So they make it look like it's all these separate events, that they're not tied together, but they all have tied together, but they all have that one common denominator, and that's plasma physics, and that's not a coincidence. Carl Grillmare, he was in February of this year.
Yeah.
He's the one that I guess opened fire on some of these people too. And then we have William Neal McCasland that you mentioned, and he was disappeared in late February, the same time, 2026, this year. And he's all about aerospace as well, and plasma craft and stuff like that. So, dude, this is the real disclosure. This is why you hear me getting so excited to share some of my findings and rediscoveries in plasma physics. This is where the real disclosure lies. Disclosure is not the other disclosure that's in our community is for entertainment only, people. There's a few truths in there packed in a whole bunch of entertainment and performances. Disclosure is not something you sell at conferences, selling secrets to make money off it in books and what have you. That is all to keep us, that's all entertainment to keep us preoccupied. The real disclosure behind the scenes has to do with what's going on in the plasma physics community, because that is where the secrets lie in UAPs, with life on the universe, and all sorts of things, right? They keep that stuff hidden behind the doors, and they give us all this fluff to keep us preoccupied and to talk about it. And it's fun to talk about all that stuff, but most of it is not true. I'm sorry to tell people. I've been through some real experiences that it sounds like I'm crazy when I describe them too. There's real stuff out there, but most of the stuff that we're hearing in the disclosure community is for entertainment only. It's for people to make money off of and whatever, right? Disclosure is not not a business. Once you see it becoming a business, then you have to question it.
Yeah.
Right? You have to question it. And my most of my life, I have had, you know, I was born a certain way. I it's sort of a blessing and a curse that I have an intuition and a telepathic connection to certain things. I've gotten telepathic visits from other beings, right? I don't call them ETs, because everything in the universe is ET. Like everything is even the DNA in our body, it travels all throughout the cosmos before it becomes us, right? We're like, so it's not. I've had visits from some of the oldest forms of archetypes that we have on the planet, these feline shaped humanoids, throughout my life, right? And I was shown that they are connected to transporting comets and having to do with solar systems and planetary systems. And they're one of the oldest forms of worship that we have on the planet. But it's sort of like from an intelligence from another time and space, and they're possibly even fractals or fractions of our own journey and our own self, sort of like a higher self coming in to teach us certain things, you know. But I was shown that there are certain intelligences, advanced intelligences, that are species within, because we're even like a plasma born species. We're a spiritual fire that's born of the waters, born of the cosmic sea, but then we're encased in this matter, right? And in a lower density type of reality. But within the light of the universe, within the light, we're just at one little visible light spectrum in our world. Within the light, there's many different species and many different worlds that exist in different densities. It's like cascading mirrors. They describe it in Vedic and Buddhist with the net of Indra that we can get in later. But I don't want to go too off topic. But these entities, they're like throughout the cosmos. You have like stars, suns, nebulas. They're all plasma entities, if you want to use that word plasma. They're celestial objects that are divine, that are intelligence. They're all different life in the universe, and there's all different types of intelligences in the universe. We might see them in this reality as a sun, but they're really like an angelic messenger of the universe, streaming all sorts of information, right? So one of the oldest forms of worship we have is that lioness humanoid that we have with like Sekhmet or Pasht or Astaroth. There's a lot of different ways that she's described. I have a few pictures that you guys can see here. I don't recommend the book that I'm taking the picture from right here, but I'm going to use it as a reference to show you some of the oldest forms of symbolism that we have of the goddess. And usually they are always depicted as a lioness or some form of feline type being. It's in Vedic, it's in Sanskrit. Let me see if I can get a good picture here for you. So this is one of the Sekhmets that you guys can see. Let me use that one side.
That's cool. Yeah.
And this is complete plasma physics. So for a coronal mass ejection to come from the sun, you have to have two opposing magnetic field lines. They have to be twisted together to open up a burst from the sun. This is exactly shown with Viracocha and many different things, right? And she's a solar deity that brings destruction and healing, exactly what a sun can do and a coronal mass ejection can do. And it's one of the oldest forms of worship. And even in the dolmen that I go to here, they have an effigy of this carved into stone. And that dolmen is over 10,000 years old, right? This book that I was showing I don't recommend it. This was from Robert Matt. This is actually probably worth a lot of money now because it's a rare book. This is from Robert Masters. He was he was married to what's her name? She was the advisor to Hillary Clinton, the astrologer advisor to Hillary Clinton. I forget her name, but
Miss Cleo, or was it Miss Cleo, or was it
not Miss Cleo? It was like Joan something or Jean Houston or Joan. I forget her name. I forget her name now.
Joan Houston, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just sounds familiar. I don't.
This book is more like black magic, I would say, right? It's about like the sexual bodies and this is by Robert Masters, but I don't recommend it. It's more like black magic, but I did buy it for my research many years ago when it first came out. And but you know, some of the books I got just for their pictures and some of the information, but you guys could get other books on Sekhmet, but they don't really talk about what the goddess is the information really lies in. I mean, they're scientifically robust metaphors for how the universe works, how stars work, how they keep harmony with the magnetospheres to keep life on Earth. And what I'm doing in my work in my book that's coming out, what I'm proposing, in my opinion, accurately maps the fierce dual nature of these deities, like the lioness deity Sekhmet or Pasht or Bast, right? They're solar phenomena, like the Eye of Ra story. You know, that's the solar, she's the lady of the flame, right? She's the lady clothed in red. And they're talking about coronal mass ejection. She carries the loop of the god, and has these fiery serpents as magnetic field lines. All of this is describing the helical twisted magnetic field lines that guides the plasma to the destruction or the healing of Earth's magnetosphere and environment, right? And the Ankh symbol, the symbol of life and energy, she holds that Ankh, right? And it's a magnetic flux rope, and the circular top twisting loop. I mean, that's how that on the sun, you have magnetic field lines that bundle and twist up, and they make this loop, and they grab the plasma within the loop and hurl it into space. And that's talked about in all cultures. You know, the people, you know, mythology of catching the sun in a noose and throwing it into space. That is not just a storm coming from the sun. This is how souls get thrown into space and directed to certain places. This is how entities arrive from the sun and get sent into planetary systems, and how after they their life is over, they must return back into the sun and back into, they're born from the waters and they must return from the waters. So it's, this plasma physics is vital for us to understand who we are as a universe, who we are as a species. And most crafts, they're not coming from all these different planets and star systems. Most of them are traveling through gateways from one planet, from one star system to another, through magnetospheres, through tunnels of plasma. And essentially, we live in a collider. We live. So let me explain this to people. Basically, what we're living in is like a massive CERN, right? So what CERN is a powerful magnetic field that they introduce plasma particles and particles into, and they make collisions and stuff like that, right? Well, we're
Yeah.
our Earth is inside of a powerful magnetic field. We're literally wrapped in a garment of plasma, and that is inside of a powerful magnetic field. We have this powerful magnetic field around our planet, and all bunch of plasma particles are introduced inside that plasma. When you introduce plasmas into a powerful magnetic field, amazing things happen. Doorways open, gateways open, right? And we're literally, our Earth is spinning inside of a powerful magnetic field, it's sitting in this whirling vortex of plasma, right? So all the plasma that comes into our magnetic field around this planet is introduced from the solar wind, right? The solar wind, the sun is literally injecting plasma into a powerful magnetic field. Then that makes its way into the magnetotail on the night side and stretches out and into these long tails, and then snaps and makes these magnetic reconnection events that creates auroras and everything else. This is a powerful area where chaos gods create plasma born entities. So literally, entities, information is sent right from the sun. It goes into our powerful magnetic field. It travels into the underworld, which is the night side, and then it creates these explosions where these auroras and these new life forms are born and enter into our atmosphere from magnetic reconnection events. Right? This is how the jinn are born in mythology. They're these smokeless, fire-born entities that come from the waters. These are how the nymphs, the fairies, all of these entities are described intimately in mythology, right? And this is why you see even like Anki and Enlil, all of these entities. They're like, when you have they're plasma born entities. Like Anki and Enlil is an example, right? Most people think, oh, these are people. Maybe some kings and some bloodlines, the Asura Devas, the Nephilim bloodlines, they take on these names because the names represent something of power from the cosmos. But Enlil is the solar wind. Enlil is the god of celestial air and celestial storms. He represents that dynamic, kinetic energy that is our inside of our whole heliosphere in this solar system. And the solar wind's dynamic pressure as it meets Earth magnetic pressure, right? That's all discussing it. And Enlil is that god of air. He's the god of storms. He's like Shu and Tefnut of Egyptian. You got Enlil and Enki in Sumerian, right? Well, Enlil is the warrior who challenges the stability of Earth's domain. And then you have his brother Enki, who represents the watery abyss in the magnetosphere. He's the Absu, right? They get that word Absu, where Enki rules over, from abyss. That's where we get the word abyss from, Abzu. But Abzu comes from the Vedic Apis, APAS, which means the cosmic waters, right? And Enlil and Enki represent both the solar wind and the solar waters that bring life on Earth. And the Absu, that watery abyss, is not just, or like they describe it, it's like beneath the earth and underworld. It's around and over the earth, and that physically maps to magnetospheric plasma. It's a distinct, sheltered, fluid-like environment that is wrapped around our planet. And Enki's role as being the Lord of the waters, the Lord of the wisdom, the protector, this mirrors the magnetosphere's function, as being a protective shield for Earth's atmosphere. And then his name literally means the place where the sky and earth meet. You have on and ki, right? On is the sky, ki is the earth. It's the place where on and sky and earth meet. That is the magnetosphere. He's the crossing, the coupling of on and ki is the name Enki, right? That's that, and that's in Egyptian. That's Shu and Tefnut. Shu is that dry wind, the solar wind. Shu is the personification of celestial air, and he represents the sky, which is Nut, and the earth, Jeb, same as Enki, right? He's the place where sky and earth meet. And in plasma physics, this is also represents that IMF, the interplanetary magnetic field, and the solar wind that keeps our galactic and planetary environment distinct, stable, and in cosmic order. And then Tefnut is the goddess of the waters, the god of the waters. She's the moist, and she's has to do with moisture and dew, and she represents that heavy ion plasma and the moist environments like the magnetosheath or the plasma sheet, and the fluid like dynamics of it all, right? So we have all of this mapped out in mythology, and there's a reason why it's getting suppressed, because the secrets that we're all looking for about where we come from, where we're going, and who we are lies already mapped out by our ancestors that we've long forgotten. And it's all in our ancient writings. It's even in the Bible. It's all over. And telepathically, we get answers we're looking for, but we're in the fog so much that most people can't silence their mind to get a connection like that. I've been doing on and off sun gazing, solar yoga. I spoke for the Sun Yogi. I was invited 2 years in a row to speak for the Sun Yogi, and in India, Uma Sankar. He's Swami G. Uma Sankar. He's a Sun Yogi. He does Sun Yoga, and he teaches it all over the world. I spoke at his conference in India. Through doing Sun Yoga and meditation and going to the sacred dolmen and doing this with my crystal skulls, I was given epiphanies about certain things. One of the things that I came up with in only in January 2025 did science actually prove that it was true, when I talked about the electron-driven chorus in birdsong. But yeah, what else should we get into? Should we get into more about like the plasma physics, or should we do readings, or what should we do?
It's up to you. I mean, we've only been going. Let me see. We've only been going about 32 minutes, so we can get into more plasma physics if you want. Oh, that's cool. You tell us about that crystal. Like, how's it light up like that?
Oh, I got a little light stand for it. I actually sell some light stands too. So
that's
yeah,
cool.
This is a fire quartz. This is a fire quartz. You guys can see this is hematite, the red that you see in it. Really cool fire quartz. Massive crystal skull right here.
Wow, that's amazing.
I was watching some of your last guests. I saw him mention about the orbs and plasma orbs. I have some of them on video from here in the Hudson Valley. I've been seeing them most of my life, and I've had, I don't like talking about my experiences that much because I don't want to be identified by certain things that I experienced. You can't prove most of your experiences, so I don't like. I've described them before. I've talked about them intimately on other shows, but I like to present my work and my research and what I'm discovering, because that's what I want to be identified with, not some of the experiences that I had that make me sound like a crazy person when I talk to them. But people do go missing, right? I disappeared during an experience in 2002. I lost a day and a half during an experience that I had in a park, right, on the 33rd parallel in Long Beach. And then afterwards, literally the military knew about it and tracked me down, and I had a whole experience, right? And I think I was underneath Catalina Island there, near off the Long Beach Pier. So I went through my own nightmarish experience that makes me sound like a crazy person when I talk about it. So I had direct contact.
I think there's a lot going on about Catalina Island. People see USOs there all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Right off Catalina Island, and
I was getting chased by people involved with the military, dude. Like Michael Aquino and his little crew was trying to get me to join the Temple of Set and the Church of Satan in the late 90s and early 2000s. I literally left New York City because of all the shit that was going on, right?
Yeah.
And I left and started being. I was a street musician in California for like 2.5 years, just me and my guitar on the street. I was like MIA, dude. I didn't tell nobody, not even my mom. I just took a bus from California to New York, right? And while I was out there, it was like a force followed me, dude. I was having these spiritual experiences out there, and I didn't even realize until I did research about it that I was right on the 33rd parallel. That
Wow.
runs right through the park that I was on in Long Beach, California. And then the other 33rd parallel is all the way in Lebanon in Mount Hermon, where the fallen angels came down. So that's like a well-known longitude latitude spot.
Would
That
those be also like stargates? Do you think those could also be like stargates or stargate locations?
see, that's a subject that is like a hot topic right now. I've been talking about it for 20 years. When people say stargates, I literally think they're using it as a word salad word now, and they don't
Yeah.
really they don't describe what the Stargate is. And most people think it's like some ring that they're showing in the TV show, right, or something like that. There's natural stargates that can develop through the light, like literally through plasma, and we can have entrance ways from our reality here into our magnetosphere, doorways that open up, right, and they can be done through different ways. Things enter into our environment through breakthroughs in our magnetosphere. And the North Pole is a big entrance spot, and there's entrance spots, places that you see auroras and places like that. Those are big spots where there's breakthroughs that come through, and these portals can be generated in many places. So I do believe Mount Hermon was one of these places where plasma entities came down. And I think that also at that point, our pole star was in a different location. The Himalayas is another place where this happens. There's the Mount Shasta has been places where high places. This happens at high places a lot of times, mountaintops, because this is places where, that are very close to the stratosphere and places like that. So those are typically places where, yeah, I do think stargates, if you want to say them, like I said, we are living in a stargate. We are literally inside a powerful magnetic field, and
Yeah.
our magnetosphere is a stargate, a natural stargate. It's a tunnel back to the sun and to other star systems. There's all these tunnels of plasma that string like a tree of light, branches out. It's not only like a tree, but it's also like involved in a watery substance. Like in Vedic, they have a term for this. It's called the apis, right? The celestial waters. And gods are born, and entities and life is born from these waters. And in Vedic, they call it apum napat, when you're born of the waters, born of the apis. Agni is one of the fire gods, one of the sun gods, that he's born of the waters, right? All these vivid, evocative metaphors and allegories to describe how our universe works. And we're looking at them in the wrong ways. We're looking at it like it's primitive worship, but in fact, it's already been mapped out eloquently by our ancestors. And yeah, Agni is one of those gods that they talk about in Vedic, that he's born of the waters, right? And let me see if I have a picture for you to show you that in Vedic, how they show the coronal mass ejection. So this is Varuna. Varuna's holding that golden lasso or golden noose, and he's a sun god who has to do with the solar waters. And he's literally got a bundle of golden cords in a noose that he's about to hurl. It's a golden lasso. They describe that lasso souls and pulls them into the celestial waters, right? So that is the coronal mass ejection. When you see Varuna holding that, he's holding that golden loop that you see there.
Wow. Wow.
See the golden loop here?
Yeah.
That's this. It's exact.
Wow. Yeah.
See the golden loop that he's holding in his hand?
Yeah.
It's that. That's what he's holding.
Wow.
And it's the same context. It's a solar deity who's holding the golden lasso of the sun. And that's one of the most important objects in the universe. It's one of the universal principles and structures and laws of the universe. This is how information and in my opinion, how souls are sent to our planet. It's shown in Egyptian when you see Akhenaten, literally the arm of the sun is handing down one of those loops, the Ankhs, to its solar king. And even his head is stretched out like the magnetotail. You know, the magnetotail is what receives the coronal mass ejections and stretches them out on the night side. It's like it's all intimately the path of the light, the path of a coronal mass ejection, all the way from the sun into the magnetotail, is described in this video, in this papyrus. It's the transition of the light from one stage to the next. It's divinely inspired, all of those symbolisms, right? Really incredible stuff. Really incredible stuff. And this is where all the answers lie. So there's no doubt that plasma physics professors found some real information, and most likely they were silenced.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, because they're not definitely not telling the truth with NASA. Like whatever NASA's telling us is like, obviously it's like
dead men tell no tales.
Yeah, right. That's scary. Eric had a question for you from the audience. Wait, this was I thought that we could answer some questions. He wants to know about sun gazing for some reason. He said he says wait, let me see. He says I think I know the answer to this, but I figured I'd put it up. He says, Rob, please give Rob some info about how to sun gaze and how important it is.
Yeah, I definitely will.
I sun gaze.
So, and this is how I would start to sun gaze if you've never done it before. An hour before sunrise, right? When you start hearing the bird song, right? Like an hour before sunrise, you go out and you get in your sit in meditation pose and you stare at the sun before the sun's arised, right when it's an hour before dawn. You're staring at the area and you sun gaze that way. And then once the sun rises, you could do a few seconds, but you want to when you're staring up at the sun, you want to roll your eyes back and stare towards your pineal gland, towards the center where just the whites of your eyes are showing. I know it looks crazy, but you want to do that. Like the whites of your eyes are showing when you're looking back. I know it looks nuts, but you want to have your eyeballs like rolled back kind of. And that is the best way to absorb the light, just for a few seconds at first, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 seconds the first day. And then every day you do a few more seconds until you're doing a few minutes. And you can do this pre-sunrise and pre-sunset, around sunrise and sunset. And that's pretty much what you should do for a while. But when you get really experiment, you can even do it at high noon. Those are for like the real serious people, that the high noon sun, but never do that for starters. And there's a lot more that goes into it, but I can send you a bunch of information on it and stuff if you're interested in it. And so some people, like my friend Swamiji Uma Sankar, he's, I don't know, what is he? He's about 10 years older than me. He's probably in his late 50s. He has developed an ability where if he needs to, he doesn't need to consume food or water for days, weeks, or even months at a time if need be. And he was lost in the Himalayas for like 9 days, and he didn't eat or drink. And he was tested for 2 weeks in a hospital. At one time, they did a test on him, and he didn't have to eat or drink for 2 weeks, and he didn't gain any weight or lose any weight. He was just he put his body like in a like. But he said, I asked him truly about it, and he said he found that he doesn't spiritually progress when he's in this stage. It seems to be an ability that sages or yogis had to develop in case they were stranded in the Himalayas, or they got in certain situations where they couldn't find food, where they had to meditate for long periods of time. They found a way to put their body in this sort of stasis and be able to feed off the sunlight, to absorb the sunlight for food.
Wow. Holy shit, dude. This is next level stuff, man. This is like this is yeah. If you guys
Well,
have more questions, I'll put them in the chat.
there's
Yeah,
a
and we
book.
can
Hey
do
guys,
readings.
I highly recommend to go get this book. This is The Sensational Findings of a Himalayan Expedition by Dr. Ernst Moldashev. He's a world-renowned
Yeah.
ophthalmologist. He has patents on eye surgeries, and he did an expedition in the 90s with some yogis into the Himalayas and supposedly found a cave where there were giants in a samadhi stasis. Samadhi is a high level
Wow.
or state that you reach in meditation. And he said there were beings from Atlantis in there, Lemuria, all the past civilizations, and they were in a samadhi, like cold to the touch, but alive, and in some sort of like samadhi is when you reach like a high level of meditation where supposedly you don't age, you age very slowly, like it gets slowed down, and it's almost like you're dead. You slow down your breathing almost to like a dead state, but you're alive, almost like a catatonic meditation, right? And supposedly there's all sorts of monks in a stasis in various places in the world, even beneath the pyramids.
Oh yeah, that looks like a sick book. I'm gonna get that. Ernest Moldashev. I never heard of him.
Yeah,
I had
Ernst
never heard of him
Moldavsky.
before.
Yeah, he's a Russian ophthalmologist who even holds patents on eye surgeries, and he's done like he's world renowned for his eye surgeries, and he was doing research on the third eye, right? So he got into Madame Blavatsky's work. He had done some favors for saving people's eyesight and for some Tibetan monks that had cataracts and different things, and they owed him a favor, and they told him about this cave within the Himalayas because he was interested in the ancient bloodlines, and they told him he wasn't allowed to take cameras or anything like that, but they would bring him, and he has this experience where he was led into this cave where there was a psychic barrier that like brought him to his knees. He couldn't go any further, right? And there was all these giants in a stasis cut out in the caverns, like
Dude,
big huge dudes.
yeah, I guess nothing like that happened. But the other night when I was walking on my street, sometimes I go for late night walks. I think someone's doing something in the neighborhood because like I was walking down this one street and then something told me to like walk, like to turn around, like, and there was no one there, right? Like there was nothing was going on, right? Like, and then I turned around and looked over my shoulder. I looked behind me, and what I saw these three ash. I had smoked weed, right? So I was high. So, like, but no, dude, I swear to God, I saw these three astral figures like guarding the street. Like they were posted up, and I was like, holy shit, I wonder if someone's like opening portals and letting beings into where they're like now they're like guarding the street. Like, I don't know. And that's not the first time something happened on that street. Like every time I go for a walk there at night, something weird happens,
Well, dude,
like
I showed you when I was researching an ancient area where there's sacred stone structures that are thousands of years old. I was
yeah,
chased out of the woods by an evil force. I mean, and I didn't see it at first, but then when I got back to my car, I got to the door of my car and I looked back at the woods, and at the tree line, I took a picture of the tree line right there. When I looked at the picture, there was this evil friggin' it looks like a Nephilim giant, bro. I'll show you the picture. We tried to show it once before on your show, but like we had problems that day.
yeah.
Um, let me show you. Let me
It's a
show
cool
you,
picture. It's a really cool picture.
dude. It's pretty creepy because it looks like a 10-foot tall Nephilim giant that's like see through but black, and it's like it looks like it's got like an admiral hat on. So this is the regular picture of it,
Wow, that's insane. That is insane.
right? And then when my buddy used his phone to pull it out more with the lighting, it looked like there was even bigger ones alongside it, and the same shape.
Yeah.
Look at
Damn.
that,
That's cool. Dude, that's insane. That thing was chasing you? Holy shit,
dude.
I
I
mean, it was
felt like
following you.
I was at these ancient standing stones, and right here in the lower Hudson Valley, where we have a lot of megalithic structures and ancient stone chambers and stuff like that, and I felt like I was about to get attacked. Like I felt like something was running behind me and about to punch me in the face. That kind of feeling. And I looked back and there was nothing there. And I felt like this impending doom. Right. It was like, it's kind of like what that guy was talking about in the book, like a psychic barrier. Like I couldn't go any further because I felt like an evil force was about to attack me. And it got so potent that I started to run out of the woods, even though I didn't see anything. I started to run. Like it, yeah, it scared me. So I got out of the tree line. I made it out of the tree line. I got to the curb where my car was. And as soon as I got to my car door, I turned around and snapped the picture. And that's what came out in the picture.
That's insane. That's really like next level insane, you know, because that looks like a really evil astral being or something, right?
It looks like the ghost of the Nephilim or the Rephaim, ghosts of and that's like, all these sites are linked to the giants as well. All these stone structures, right? So, and if they were doing ritual sacrifices at these stone pillars, there's no doubt ghosts of the Nephilim that occur at these spots, right? And they're like, yeah, there's no doubt, dude. And the Bible even says that the Rephaim are not permitted to go to heaven, and they're not permitted to sleep. They're walking ghosts on this planet. They can't enter heaven, and they can't leave this planet, and they're wandering ghosts. They can never rest. They can never sleep.
Yeah.
So,
I've heard of people say that there's like forest guards too, like beings that can guard the forest, or like beings of the forest.
Oh, yeah,
like,
dude, in every culture, in every culture, you have them. In Slavic, you have like the Rusalki and the Vajanoi and the Leshy. Leshy is like a beast of the forest, like a Leshy, right? All these different, and in Italian, we have what's called the Folletto or the Lincetto, all these different fairies and beings of the forest, right?
Are some of them little people? Or some of them
they're little people, they're giants, they're beings of light, they're all watery beings. They're described as plasma entities, basically, all different types of plasma beings.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. Like I never knew. Yeah, I never knew that. Like I guess like plasma physics ties totally into the paranormal and UFOs. It basically encompasses the paranormal and UFOs.
Yeah, and unfortunately, science compartmentalizes everything and leaves spirituality out of it when they don't realize it's fused together. Right? They do realize they do it on purpose. So like I'll explain to you in the very simple terms how everything's. What happens in the cosmos, right? Comets flying around, explosions by supernovas, suns erupting with coronal mass ejections. Everything that you see happening in the cosmos affects life in the cosmos, like Earth life, energetically. Right? Yeah. So everything that happens in science is happening in science, but it's affecting life energetically, spiritually. So everything, all the weather in space energetically affects life in space, and we live in space, right? So like science and its intricate life, the way life is created, the way life is sustained, it is so complex, it is so amazing that there's no doubt there's a divine or intelligent architect behind it all. So science proves the divine, in my opinion.
Wow.
Right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
It proves there's an intelligent architect to it.
Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, this is totally off the subject, but what do you think about what the creator of this place is like? Do you feel like we're in somewhat of like a holographic biological matrix, or like, and who do you think created this? Like, what do you think about like the God of this place? Like,
well, I think that's a good question, Rob. It's a huge question. I look at the universe like the brain of God. Right. And when you see like explosions happening, they're like ideas of God. Like they're like different things happening. Like like the dendrites that we have in our brains, you see them in tree-like branches of light in the cosmos. Right. And it's little neurons and dendrites and all these things firing up in a brain is the same thing that's happening in the cosmos, in the brain of God. Right. And when God wants ideas to start bringing creation, he brings comets to send them throughout his, into little, and we're just a node on the tree of light grid in our universe. We're like one little magnetic node in the tree of in the plasma universe, right? We're one of these nodes that's reflecting all these little dimensions off of each other,
I
right? It's
got
like
another question. This one was from the audience, from Jason. Jason wants to know what you think is up with all the meteors. And like, we had one hit here in Pittsburgh. Like, they were talking about the Iran war and everything, but then all of a sudden this huge fucking meteor came and hit. Like, I don't know if you saw this, multiple ones came. Can meteors be the same as cosmic? Do they carry all the bacteria like that as well?
Yeah, dude. Fireballs, all of that. They carry the building blocks of life. They're being broken off of comets and seeding planetary systems, right? When meteors enter into our environment, they have all this cometary dust and cosmic dust that carry the building blocks of life. They are seeding our planet, right? They look at them as messengers of God, right? They're angelic beings, right? They're the technology of angelic beings, right? It's incredible how this world works. You look at meteor showers. They're on mathematical orbits, seeding our world month by month with different. It's like upgrades, and like we'll see certain diseases, certain viruses. They will arise during meteor showers and different meteor showers, like clockwork. It will come around every year. A certain cold will come around and it'll be locked in with the meteor shower, right? When we had the pandemic, right? This, in my opinion, happened from the cosmos, right? You have a spot that's been proven by my buddy Professor Chandra and Sir Fred Hoyle in their experiments in the Himalayas. Our Himalayas, this is why they say Shiva sits at the top of the Himalayas. Our Himalayas is positioned so high up in the atmosphere that it actually punches a hole in the stratosphere and forms a drainage route, especially when we're in minimum sunspot cycles. When we're in a minimum sunspot cycle, it's like open invitation for anything that's lurking in our stratosphere to come on in. And what lurks in our stratosphere? Fireballs from meteors, cometary dust that gets poured in, right? Millions of gallons of cometary material and particles from space, bacteria, all of this stuff lurks in our stratosphere. And then when we go into minimum sunspot cycle, any places that has breakthroughs in the stratosphere on our planet, it's an open invitation for what's lurking in the stratosphere to come on in. And our Himalayas is one of those spots that when we're in a minimum sunspot cycle, it punches a hole in our stratosphere and forms a drainage tunnel route for everything to come on in, right? So that area where the Himalayas is, when it does this, it punches a hole in our stratosphere and it spirals down and it pours into our planet. And because of the way the winds work, the first places it goes to is Hong Kong and China, because it comes in from the Himalayas, and then the first places it goes is Hong Kong and China. Now, in December of 2019, when the pandemic started, we were plunged into a minimum sunspot cycle at the very same time, and it was the lowest it's been in over 100 years, right? So at that point in December of 2019, the Himalayas would have punched a hole in the stratosphere, and all this new cometary dust and bacteria would have came into planet that we haven't seen in over 100 years. The last time this happened was when the Spanish flu came in, right? The Spanish pandemic. And then in 2019, when a new flu came to our planet, we were hit with the minimum sunspot cycle, and it came through the cosmos. No doubt they took samples of it and probably worked on it in labs and then had leaks from the labs as well. But no doubt this is a cosmic flu that came over our planet. No doubt.
Wow, that's huge, dude. Like it's like it makes me wonder.
I know we can't mention the name because we'll get demonetized. We'll get, they'll give us. So I'm not giving out no medical information. This is for entertainment only, right? But check out my YouTube. Before I was getting visions of this, I have it proof documented. We had that pandemic happen in December of 2019. Throughout 2018, I did several videos on my YouTube. One of them is titled Plagues Coming. the green comet is coming. I was shown a vision in 2018 of a green comet coming, and then everybody wearing masks on the planet and fighting over food and chaos happening. And that came
Wow.
to fruition the very next year, a few months later. Look up my YouTube channel. In 2018, I said, we're about to get plagues on this planet that we have never seen before. Like, people are going to be wearing masks and fighting each other, and there's going to be a green comet involved. All of this, I saw this in a vision in 2018, and I mean, I have proof of it. So
Yeah. Why do you think that the universe does that to like cause like sickness and stuff like that? Why do you think? Do you think like the Earth has to like purge? Do you think the Earth's purging to some degree or something like that?
yeah, we go through cycles. I mean, everything goes through cycles. Nothing lasts forever. The sun goes through 11-year cycles and some bigger cycles. Like, there's some bigger, longer cycles that's involved with it as well. But every 11 years, we go through a sunspot cycle, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it is the universe is, and especially our world, we are enchanted and we are under a virus,
Yeah.
right? And it's not just a data virus. We are enchanted through materialism, and we are wrapped in a cosmic sludge, a cosmic slime that's wrapped around our dimension and our world, right? And we are wrapped in this sludge, and we are not progressing. We are digressing, right? And we are stuck in this sludge, and it's wrapped around our souls. It's wrapped around our planetary system, right? And we have to remove this sludge, this coating over us, right? And those that are telepathic and psychic, they can see this sludge I'm talking about, this ooze, this black ooze that's wrapped around us, right? And it's a cosmic sludge. It's cosmic abortion, right? It's wrapped around us.
Wow, that's huge. That's huge. That's huge information. Like, I was just gonna read maybe some of these comments. This is from Jerry Lahane. Jerry Lahane says, I says I knew the theory of comments distributing matter called panspermia and used the comment scene opener for DS9 as such. He says, I don't know what he means by that. Do you? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's talking about, the DS9, but if you guys look into panspermia, my good longtime friend, Professor Chandra Wickraman and his mentor, Sir Fred Hoyle, they wrote many books on this. One of the first books I ever got in the 1980s that they wrote was called Diseases from Space, and Evolution from Space, those books. So I would get those. They were one of the first books out, and they still hold true 40 years later today.
Wow. Man, well, should we do a couple readings? Like, should we see if anybody wants one, or what do you think? Like,
yeah, we should do some
readings. You want to
readings.
advertise the store for a little bit too, like before we even do
Yeah,
that?
guys, I make some of the most incredible spiral energy devices made from royal cubit twisted copper and different cubit measurements and gemstones and high quality crystals, right? So you guys can see right here, I'm wearing a black tourmaline one with the twisted royal cubit with my spiral out coil. This is the black tourmaline. This is for EMF protection and protection from negative energy. I do all sorts of copper work. I even make the advanced feedback loops if you guys want to. These are more pricey, but I mean, this has over 200 feet of copper twisted into this.
Wow.
So this is incredible. But these ones right here, this is over 40 inches of copper, twisted into this. So it's taken me over 10 years to be able to develop these products and do them correctly and do them the right way. I also do readings on my website. You guys can use Typical Skeptic 12 to get 12% off of your order tonight. I also have a $10 off coupon on the website if you guys see it, because if you're ordering something small, it might be better for you to do the $10 off coupon. But use Rob's coupon code, Typical Skeptic 12. Rob gets a cut. So it'll help you guys out. And anybody who gets orders from my website, everyone gets a free gift. If you mention Typical Skeptic or if you mention Space Water Podcast, I'll even throw in an extra Herkimer Diamond gift. So let me know that you're watching one of our podcasts. You'll get an extra gift. But I do different types of readings. I do telepathic readings. I do Italian telepathic tarot as well. I do crystal skull readings. And yeah, I mean, not only, and I have all sorts of products on my website, and I also have free information up there. I have a Patreon that you guys can join as low as $2 a month. I have a Substack. So I have multiple YouTube channels, one for my business and one called Exploring the Ka with Ra. So you guys can subscribe to that one as well. And yeah, I mean, there's all, you guys can get custom orders at my website. I have custom carved orders like crystal skulls, towers, palm stones, like this. This one's of reticulated quartz, right? So you guys can
That's
get
cool. That's nice. Oh, yeah, that's cool.
yeah, and then I got hand sourced specimens. So whatever you guys want, like if you guys want like a huge specimen of kyanite from Brazil or specimens of Himalayan quartz, apophyllite, I got everything. I got everything you guys could possibly want. And watermelon tourmaline, I mean, pretty much everything. Even some thunderstones of agate. You ever see a thunderstone? Look at this. That has a water bubble in the middle.
Wow,
This
that's
is an
cool.
agate thunderstone. Yeah, I just actually sold. Somebody actually just bought an ammonite fossil from me that I charged at the Balance Rock. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen the spiral ammonite fossils. This is an example of one.
I love that.
Yeah, this is an
That's
ammonite.
cool.
These are millions of years old, dude. And they have like flash, like labradorite flash and opal flash in there as well. Really cool. But you guys definitely got to check out my spiral device pendants that you guys can wear. These will help you keep you out of the fog. Definitely keep you out of the fog. And who people wanted some readings too. Let me see who's in there.
Yeah, we got. I'll do Kathy first. She's I'm just putting the links to if anybody wants to donate. I'm putting it in the chat real quick. I put it on Rumble too. I'm just doing this real quick. You know, that way the people on Rumble can see it. I'm
gonna try to pull up the chat room here.
Yeah, Kathy says says she'd like a reading for her mom. It's her mom's birthday, so I'll put her up first. She says, "Here it is. Here we go. I'll put this one up first." She says, "Reading, please." She says, "It's my mom's birthday, and she would like to ask, what's the purpose of the Vietnam War? Thank you, Ra and Rob." Oh, what was the purpose of the Vietnam War, man? Yeah, just like.
All right, so she wants the purpose of the Vietnam War. And her name's
Kathy. Yeah.
All right, let me do these here. I see it. And then we have Andromeda. There's a couple of people in there. All right, I'm gonna use the I'm not just gonna do the straight up telepathic. I'll do the Italian tarot deck. If you guys want to get this deck, it's really cool. Little Scarabo carries this, and let me show you guys. This is the Italian tarot deck.
Yeah, and Melly's in the audience. She said she wants one from the Italian cards too. She said people remembered that, dude. Like I think people really like that. You know,
when I did that.
Yeah, but the Italian tarot, I think they like that. Yeah.
All right, so what just came out for? What's her name again?
Kathy.
Kathy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So what came out for the Kathy just now is the Caval di Coppe. The Caval di Coppe is the Knight of Cups, right? So the Knight of Cups is very interesting, and so when we're talking about how it has to do with the Vietnam War, now this presents a little contrast because when we got the card Caval the Knight of Cups, the Caval di Coppe, that's like a love card. It's like a messenger of love. It's charming. It could be really sensitive card, and it's bringing love into someone's life. There's someone that's going to bring emotional benefit. So that's a weird card for a Vietnam. It's like a contrast going on here, but it's it's suggesting that there's a search for peace there, right? That somebody even might be romancing the view of the situation and are failing to face the harsh reality of the situation, right? It might even be that they're focusing on the emotional impact and the human experiences of what transpired in the war rather than the political side and the logistical side, that that it's the impact of the heart and the purpose. So when it lies to the purpose, it's, you know, it maybe had to do with it being an emotional purpose for it, and maybe more of uh, a real sensitive reason why they did this, right? And you know, it's a really contrast result. It's really hard for me to understand how that came out for this all. It's really hard for me to read that and with that card, right? Because it's like for that card to come up when I'm asking about the purpose of Vietnam, it's really it's like it's maybe it's describing someone that's in a position of high level, but they're a charming, sensitive type purpose, and they had an emotional pursuit for the war. The person, like the real purpose, was an emotional pursuit, something to that effect. So really, really, really hard to read that. What came up for that, you know, maybe I should go more into it, but you know, that's what came up.
Whatever you think, you know, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and happy birthday to your mom, Kathy. I hope that helped
Let me
you.
see
You
what
know,
else came out
the
here.
next. Let me see. And I put the links to donate in the chat. Somebody asked. You can just look it up there. You can do PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Zelle. Let me see here. Eric. Eric was next. I almost forgot about Eric. Eric did. We had one donation. It was Eric. Thanks, Eric. And he says I would like a reading. Rob sent PayPal. He didn't say what he want. He didn't ask a question. He just he did put a note in the thing. He said, let me see what he said. He wrote he said great show, Rob and Ra. Thank you. He says number nine now Deep Space Nine. I would like a general reading.
Let me. Now, I was interested. We'll do that in a second, but I was interested in doing this a little bit more. So, like, I did the reading. Reshuffled the cards and did it again. And the second time I did it around, it's very similar. So the second time I did it, we got the Fonte di Bastone, right? This is the Page of Wands, and we got the Cinco di Coppe, the Five of Cups. So
Yeah.
that's another similar reading for the Vietnam. So that's like that Page of Wands or the Fonte of Wand, the Fonte di Bastone. That's creative energy. That's like new news, messengers of the news, starting a new passion project, a new fiery project. So this war seems to be like it was a new fiery project for someone, like a passion to do this, and that it was like maybe an underdeveloped or underestimated war strategy that started, that was driven by somebody that was in love with the idea of war and in love with the idealism of war. And then the Five of Cups, right? That's a huge significance right there, because that's about disappointment. That's about loss, grief, and sadness, right?
Yeah.
And it's a card of you know, mourning, and it's about spilling some of the cups. You know, there's usually on the Five of Cups, you got three cups that are spilled out on that depiction, especially in some of the other cups, right? This one you don't really have the spilling so much, but a lot of the cards, they depicted three of those cups spilled out. And and people are failing to notice that that are still upright, right? And the Five of Cups shows that there's some sort of uh and then when you have it with the night the knight, the Page of Cups, I mean, all of this stuff together, it's showing that there's been a significant loss and a profound regret and wallowing in self-doubt and pities over it. And regarding what was lost, they're just wallowing in it rather than acknowledging what they had left of the situation. So it's like somebody that had first an idealism and a love for war and a love for the idea of it all, and then they underestimated the kind of regret and pity that they were going to be involved in. And it the reading basically is showing that they went from a high-minded idealism and having an emotional drive to do this war to be, and they were like passionately, actively working out this passion for it. And then they became deeply emotional and endured loss and disappointment over it. And it's not just about the physical loss and physical battles, but there was a psychological disappointment. There was an emotional disappointment, and it resulted from the conflict that they created, right? So it's talking about a communication and an emotional intelligence that happened from them pursuing ideas and idealistic natures. So that's really powerful. What was the person wanted to talk about for the next reading?
That was Eric. He's right here. He just said he didn't say anything. He just said he'd like a PayPal. He sent a PayPal, and yeah, he didn't really say about like what he wanted. I can look it up. I'm looking at the chat on my phone. Let me see
I'll
here.
just do a basic. I'll just do a basic because when I just did his shuffle, one just popped right out at me. So that's the Two of Wands. So I mean, when you're just looking for a regular Two of Wands, if he's just focusing on a general reading, that's the Due di Bastone. That's about personal strength and getting your feet wet, like first starting this new career or new endeavor in your life, and you're focusing on your more like your jobs and your careers and your purpose rather than emotional matters, right? And you're taking the first steps to turning your plan into like action, right? So this is good. This is about leaving your comfort zone as well. This is about going beyond what feels okay for you and taking the risks, and but don't jump into the deep end before you get your toes wet first, that type of stuff, right? And it's usually a positive message that comes with this, but there's some warnings here. There's warnings that you can't be too bold. You can't be too you can't jump in too fast. Like I said, you got to get your toes wet first, and you're going to go at the pace that fits your skill level. So you have to have planning. You have to have personal strength and willpower, and you have to have the foresight and discernment and to expand yourself. But it's a great positive reading, but some red flags that go up, that not jump in too quick type stuff. All right. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was great, man. Hell yeah. We'll just do maybe one or two more because let me see here. I'll do Melly next. Melly. She says I'd love a reading with the Italian cards. She says.
And what is she?
Let me see if she says what she'd like. And then Amy wants one, and then Andromeda. Let's see here. She says she didn't say, maybe just a general whatever you're coming up, whatever's coming up for her, I guess.
All right. Is there a chat room on can I see it on the
It's on
on the
Rumble too, but that's a different one though.
no,
Like,
on the I'm on the StreamYard app. Is there one here that I could pull up? Oh yeah, I just got it. Nice. Melly, a general. All right. So let's do this. We'll pop out. Oh, one just popped right out at me. So we got these. I love when they pop out. The Fonte di Denare. That is either the page of pentacles or the page of coins, however you guys want to look at it. Right? Really cool. Really, really good for regarding your finances, right? And your job, right? It's usually about someone that's really good at research too, and like at learning and studying and things like that. And it's someone that has a really good handle on being able to ground themselves and do things like that, right? And it's about planting these new wisdom seeds and growing them into some real long-term stability financially for you and things like that. Really good, right? It's about it's usually about a younger, youthful energy that's, bringing long-term stability for themselves. Maybe you're starting a new job right now. Maybe you're beginning a new area of unveiling like significant research, or you just started saving towards something. But it suggests that you're like building whatever you're doing right now is going to bring financial stability and long-term stability for you. So that's a really good reading, actually.
Well, I love that. That was amazing, man. Hell yeah, yeah. That was great. Like, let's see. I love the Italian tarot, man. You don't get that anywhere. You know what I mean?
I have a few. I wanted to. I have a few decks. So the other deck I just grabbed here. There's the other one that's the Visconti Sforza deck, the Golden Tarot. This is a pretty cool one. That's an Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't tell you the meanings for them really, and they don't tell you the names on the cards for this one. So you got to really know it on this one. But I do like the Visconti Sforza deck the best. That's my favorite. I'll show you guys what the deck looks like. So the deck on the Visconti Sforza. They're bigger cards, so I don't usually use them to shuffle around. But this is the Visconti Sforza deck. Let me see.
Sil also wants to know why you're doing that. She wants to know, do you make amethyst bracelets? She said, do you ever make anything like that?
Yes, I do. I just actually made some moonstone bracelets for a customer that I shipped out today. So I'll show you. I make high quality sphere bracelets. I'll show you what some of them look like. Hold on.
While I was doing that, it's a great time to say support the show, guys.
So I make some of these high quality sphere bracelets, like the amethyst that you see here.
Oh, those are nice. Yeah.
Yeah. They're all sorts of things on here that I make. So yeah, I do. I make the sphere bracelets and all different things on here. I even make some like check Rob. Remember I made for you that golden healer dragon crystal skull.
Yeah.
Check out this prototype of one wrapped in the heavy gauge copper.
That is cool. Holy shit, that's like the same one you gave me, but like it's wrapped in the copper. That's cool.
Yeah, in the heavy gauge thick copper too.
Hell yeah, I love that, man. That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, the Fonte di Denari card, that Page of Pentacle card, that's a pretty decent card, man. I mean, it could be sometimes they call it the coins, like in Italian. This one's it's actually the page of coins in this, but when you're talking about the page of pentacles, you're talking about symbolism that has to do with concentration, undivided attention, right? And usually it has to do with someone that's very fair haired, blonde haired, or light brown to blonde hair, usually have blue to green eyes. And it's usually a young person, early 20s or late teens, usually a younger spirit person. And it's the a lot of the depictions with the page of pentacles has to do with a young person that seems oblivious to their surroundings behind them while they're staring fixedly at the coin or the pentacle held in their hands, right? So they're focused on their money and their finances and long-term stability, sometimes even oblivious to what's around them, right? So there's undivided attention, there's focus here, there's concentration, but you got to be careful that you don't let everything else disappear and you're too focused on the money, right? So very interesting stuff there. And usually if you want to get a more thorough reading from me, I'll do a spread where the surrounding cards really depends more and gives you more about the situation. And so I do a $44 tarot reading and you get an extensive detailed reading, and I highly recommend it. And if you use Typical Skeptic 12, you could get 12% off, right? So
That's great.
really cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Who's the next person that we got?
Do you want to do one more? We can just do one last one for Amy, and then we'll call it a night. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Like.
Does she want me to focus on anything, or?
She didn't say. She just said she's in for the Italian tarot. She didn't say what. Maybe a general reading.
All right. So just a general?
Yeah.
All right. Wait, we dropped. Some dropped out. I like that. We got two cards that dropped out here. We got, oh wow, bunch of nines. We got the 9 of coins or the 9 of pentacles, and we got the 9 of wands here. Really interesting. So that's 2 nines. You got the 9 of wands and the 9 of pentacles. So let's talk about what this means combined real quick. So combined, you got, it's telling you to be careful, right? That you've difficultly earned some security, right? But now you got to be careful about that security. But you also got to give yourself some praise for this security that you've developed for yourself, right? So there's a very interesting combination here with the nines that has to do with your boundaries, that has to do with your endurance, your perseverance, and how that between your perseverance and between the boundaries that you've created, you've set up a interesting, comfortable, prosperous place for you, right? And you've mastered your honed your abilities, and now you're going to be able to enjoy that as well. So that's it's it's really powerful. I like the combination of the two, and the nines is a very sacred number, right? The nines is really, really sacred, especially when you get multiple nines, right? And I mean, we could break down some of the symbolism that you have to, separately from each other. That 9 of pentacles, the 9 of coins, that's about living in comfort. It's about living in splendor. It's about enjoyment of the money that you can have, that you have, and enjoyment of the spiritual security that you have. It's about something coming your way, like a check coming, or a tax return, a nice tax return, or a nice salary, something coming your way. But it also can be something that's like, unemployment check or welfare check. It seems like a bigger size check is coming your way. Tax refund, right? That's probably something that's coming right now. And it's even sometimes related to someone that's even employed by the government, not just getting a check by the government, sometimes with the 9 of Pentacles, and it's about combinations, right? So in your case, you got the 9 of Wands with it. That's pretty intense. When you got the 9 of Wands, wands are pretty much positive, but they have some warnings that go along with it. The 9 of Wands meaning overall is about, it could be lonely being at the top, and it could be lonely being at the bottom, but you got to protect and guard and defend what you have, right? And specifically, it's about having a profitable business opportunity or some sort of big money coming or some sort of big deal coming. Both 9s are about this, right? Both of your 9s. So you're about to get some kind of big money or big deal, right? It's like it's in the cards, so they say, right? And it's also telling you need to hold your own. You need to stand firm like a tribal tree and take your roots that you created, that boundary and that firm stability that you've created, and you got to defend it and hold true to it and hold your own, and getting to that top level that executive position or that top dog status, you have to be able to keep things running and in order while you're still at that top ability, right? So whatever thing that you created to yourself that made you like at the high level, you got to be able to defend that and keep that and defend your resources and your property and your gains or your spiritual protection or whatever it's about. Usually that 9 of Wands has a man standing alone with a bandage around his head, and then he's holding like one budding wand, while behind him there's like 8 other upright wands, and there's mountains in the background and all this stuff. So right, he's talking about he can't just be, that it could be lonely whether you're at the top of the mountain or at the bottom of the mountain, and that you got to protect what you got there, and getting to the top ain't easy, but once you get there, everything has to be okay and maintained, and you got to hold that position. So it's a really interesting combination. It's a real interesting position to be in, and it represents, defending, even though you may be tired and worn out, your urge to keep going, because you're close to the finish line and having success. And sometimes when you're so close to that success that you've been desperately trying to get, the biggest obstacles get put in your way right before you're at the friggin' finish line. And it's your test. And it's like you're right at that point. We're that point where you're going to lead to financial independence and self-sufficiency, and you're going to reap the rewards from that.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. I agree. Well said. Yeah. Well, yeah, dude, this was awesome, man. Yeah, like, I know you're busy and stuff. I was like, do you want to tell people where they can find you? And we went about an hour and a half.
If you guys want a more detailed reading, and you want to get my readings, or you want information, or you want my world-class spiral energy devices that you can't get anywhere else in the world, my own unique creations, you go to the mysticalspiralstore.com, type in Typical Skeptic 12 to get yourself 12% off. Thank you guys for letting me share. This is some of the real disclosure we need on the planet, because this is some of the truth that we need. I appreciate your show, Rob. I appreciate you guys from having me on. Check me out on Substack as well. Once again, it's themysticalspiralstore.com. On YouTube, it's Exploring the Ka with Ra. And Spiral out.
All right, thanks, guys. I guess I'm sorry if we didn't get to everybody for the readings, but like you know what, I'll have someone else. We'll do it again. Like I'm really tired and I gotta take a day off. I need some time off. Like yeah, but like and I'll see you guys all on Sunday. Yeah, I won't be home all night tomorrow. I'm gone for the whole night. Like I'm getting out of here for a little bit. Like and taking a night off. I need it. Like so. Um, Michelle says, is Dr. Mraz going to be on this weekend? I don't think so. I don't know who that is. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, plus I got to catch up on the audio podcast. I have like 14, audio podcasts that I have to publish. And then on top of that, I have some subliminals that I made. I'm gonna post those on the audio podcast only. So if people are looking for like manifestation stuff, like like getting extra money and stuff like that, there'll be some bonus audio subliminals up on my audio podcast so that you can access that on Spreaker, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. I'm trying to think of what else. I think that's it. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Sunday. And thanks everybody, and have a good night, everybody. And I'll see you soon. Have a good weekend.